Hi there, welcome to biology class. My name is Tamir Bright, and today we'll be talking about the cell. We'll try to define the cell. We'll talk about cell theory. We'll talk about types of cells. We'll describe a cell, and then we'll briefly talk about the differences between plants and animal cells. So, the first person to use the term cell was Robert Hooke in 1665. He got a bark of a plant, cork plant, and then got a thin slice of it and viewed it under a crude microscope. And he realized that there are some shapes there, boxes. What he saw there, he called cellular. Latin, in English, cell, of course. In Latin, cellular means small room. So, cells, small rooms. So, when you hear of prison cells, you think of small rooms in the prison, right? Fine. Scientists came up with different statements, a group of statements, related statements about the cell. They said that cells, all living things, are made up of one or more cells. They said that cells are the basic unit of life. They said that all cells that exist today come from previously existing cells, although scientists also believe that the first cells came from simple inorganic things, simple things like water, hydrogen, and all that. But all of them agree that all the cells that we have today come from previously existing cells. And then there's also the statement that inside a cell there is the information that is responsible for the reproduction of new cells. So cells contain the information for reproduction of new cells. These statements put together is referred to as a cell theory. Let me define cell biologically. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Cell is a unit of life that can live or exist independently. Now, I'm a whole organism. I'm made up of organ systems, organs, tissues, the cells. If you take out just one organ out of me, say the heart, and put it in an appropriate medium, the heart will continue to beat and live. In fact, it can live for so long that you can transplant it to another person. It would continue to live independently. Now, if you take that heart and you take a meat out of it and put it in an appropriate medium, that meat, part of the heart, would continue to live and carry out life processes. Now, if you take that meat part and remove one single cell and keep in an appropriate medium, its name would not be bright anyway, but that cell would continue to live, carry out the normal life processes of energy utilization, maintaining its internal environment, homeostasis, and all that. So the part of a living thing, the smallest or simplest form of a living thing that can exist independently and carry out life function is what we refer to as cell. There are types of cells. Cells can be grouped into two: prokaryotic prokaryotic cells, and the second grouping is eukaryotic cells. Examples of prokaryotic cells are bacteria cells. Example of eukaryotic cells are animal and plant cells. What's the major difference? Prokaryotic cells all cells have components in them. Prokaryotic cells have components scattered inside the cells, but eukaryotic cells have their components in compartments. These compartments are membrane bound. It's like they are put into a sac and they are kept in different corners within the cell for eukaryotic. Those compartmentalization the compartments are called organelles. So the presence of organelles, compartments in a cell is what makes the eukaryotic cell different from the prokaryotic cell. Let's describe a cell. I made a model of a cell. A cell, of course, like an animal cell, this is like an animal cell, and this is a section of it. You cut it open. If you cut a cell open, it is like a soup, a thick soup, so semi-solid kind of, right? It is bound, it is covered all over by the cell membrane. So this part is a cell membrane covering the whole cell. So we've cut it into two, opened it up. This part is a nucleus. The nucleus of the cell is an organelle, membrane-bound nucleus. These windings here are the endoplasmic reticulum. The part of it that does not have these red studs on it, this part that is smooth, that does not have the red stud, is called the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The part that have these studs, these red studs are ribosomes. It's called, this part that is having the ribosome studded on it is called rough endoplasmic reticulum. This blue body here is called Golgi apparatus or Golgi body. This sausage shape is called mitochondrium. This is a lysosome. There are other organelles, but the limitation of my representation of my model. Let me draw and briefly talk about the functions of some of these organelles. We will take an animal cell as a typical example. So an animal cell would look like this, right? And then we'll have a nucleus, as you have on my model here, a nucleus. Then you would have membranes around the nucleus. These membranes, just like you have on my model, are called the endoplasmic reticulum. Then you have studs on it, on some parts of the endoplasmic reticulum. These studs are the ribosomes. Then you have a body here, a collection of some bodies, and then vesicles that form from these bodies called Golgi apparatus or Golgi body. Then you have this sausage-shaped organelle called mitochondrium. You have this lysosome. Let's talk about the function. The nucleus of the cell is like the president. So the nucleus is responsible for giving instruction for protein synthesis. It's also responsible for reproduction of the cell. Very important. The endoplasmic reticulum, before I talk about the function of the endoplasmic reticulum, I will tell you what the ribosome does. The ribosome is responsible for protein synthesis. The whole process of the synthesis starts with the nucleus giving the instruction, and then the ribosomes carry out the actual protein synthesis. And then when this protein is synthesized, the endoplasmic reticulum packages it, and other materials also that are produced in the cell, packages them and transports them around the cell. So we would say the endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for transport, is responsible for packaging and transport of proteins, of other materials, phospholipids, and all that. The mitochondrium is the powerhouse of the cell. It's responsible for chemical energy production. The Golgi body Golgi body is responsible for accepting some of the proteins that are transported around the cell, packaging them, and exporting them out of the cell. So they are basically there for exports. Golgi body exports. And then we have the lysosomes. The lysosomes are like the cleaners. Whenever an organelle dies, the lysosome goes there, engulfs it, takes it up, and digests it. So the lysosomes are like cleaners. Now, a plant cell is a little different from this. The plant cell is box-like. What Robert Hooke saw in his microscope was actually a plant cell. So that's why I described it like a room. It's box-like. So there are basic differences between the plant cell and the animal cell, and I'll mention three of them. The first one is that the animal cell does not have a cell wall, but the plant cell has a cell wall. That's why it is box-like. That's why it is rigid. Another difference is the plant cell has this chloroplast. Chloroplasts are responsible for taking in sunlight. They are responsible for using this, transforming the energy from sunlight to energy stored in food, right? They contain chlorophyll. And then another thing is that the plant cell contains a large central vacuole, a sac in the center of the cell that contains fluid. It is found in plant cells. You can find vacuoles in animal cells, but whenever you find them, they are usually very small, right? So these are the basic differences. So in this class, we've mentioned that a cell is the basic structural and functional unit of a living thing. We would also mention that cells, all living things are made up of cells. Cells are the basic unit of life. Cells come from pre-existing cells. Cells contain materials for reproducing new cells within them. All these statements together are referred to as cell theory. We have also said that cells could be prokaryotic or eukaryotic, and we've said that a typical animal cell is membrane bound. It has a nucleus, a Golgi apparatus, the endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, and all that. Then we said three main basic differences between plant and animal cells are that the animal cell does not have a cell wall, the plant cell has a rigid cell wall. The animal cell does not have chloroplast, the plant cell has chloroplast. The plant cell has a large central vacuole, the animal cell has little or no vacuole. So that's it for this class. Please help me promote my service by searching for Bright Tamie on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, send comments, and if you have topics of interest to you that you want me to tackle, please send them in. Thanks for watching.